Everybody, welcome back to Assisted Living Investing. Happy to have you on the channel today. For our topic today, we're going to get into how to fill your facility, your residential assisted living facility, with Medicaid residents, and why you might want to consider doing that as you get started on your assisted living facility. If you're interested in learning about that, make sure you stick around for today's video. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Brandon Gustafson with AssistedLivingInvesting.net. Excited to have you here with me today. Our topic for the video is how to fill your residential assisted living facility with Medicaid residents for your assisted living facility. This is something that people, I don't think they're aware of how this works, or they see Medicaid and they, during the headlights, they don't want to go down that path. I'm going to try to kind of coach you through how it's actually not that scary and why it can actually benefit your facility. But before we get into that, I wanted to remind you to get over to AssistedLivingInvesting.net, get access to our free underwriting calculator. We'll link that down below. If you get over there and get access to the calculator, you will also get on an email list that has a 12-step process with action items. It's going to help you get started with your own assisted living facility. So if you're interested in that, make sure you get over to AssistedLivingInvesting.net and get access to that free calculator. You'll also be made aware once we release some of our other content that we're trying to put out on the website. I'm working on that right now and excited to get a lot of this information out to you. So let's get into the topic for today. Again, we're talking about how to fill your beds with Medicaid residents at a residential assisted living facility. My facilities, I own two of them. They're both 16-bed facilities, one in Colorado, one in Idaho. They are both largely Medicaid, actually. And, for me, I've worked in healthcare for a long time. I've actually worked in government program funding things, so Medicare, Medicaid, VA care, those types of things. I'm very familiar with it because I have experience working in them. I kind of understand the process for how they work. And so I wasn't scared when it came to Medicaid. And what I found is it actually is pretty, it's actually a pretty good way for you to get residents, keep your house full, and still make a pretty good chunk of money. So before we get into like how to get the residents, I wanted to explain to you a little bit more about Medicaid. I've got another video where I talk about this in the Medicaid process. But basically, when you receive payments from Medicaid, or you have a Medicaid resident, you're getting payments from a few different areas. One is what's called a daily rate. So you get a daily rate that you bill to Medicaid, and that Medicaid could be run by the state or it could be run by a third-party administrator, and different states have different rules and regulations. So Medicaid is a federally funded program, but it's administered at a state level, and they kind of do the things that they feel they want to do to administer Medicaid. So you could have the state is doing it specifically, or in Idaho we actually have 3 different Medicaid payers. So we have to be certified and licensed with each of those payers. In Colorado there's just one payer, but it's a third party. It's not done through the state, and so that's who we bill for those. But we're given from the case managers for our residents what's called a PAR and a PETI, and I don't remember what those stand for, but it basically is telling us this is the level of care that these residents have. Here's their diagnosis, blah, blah, blah. And here's their daily rate for what you can bill Medicaid to receive for the services that you are rendering to that resident. And let's call it $100 a day, just for quick and easy math. It's typically like $100 is definitely within the range in my experience with these. I've seen them like $80 to $130. So $100 is is pretty decent actually, and I think realistic. Your state's going to be different, so make sure you do the research on your specific state to figure that out. But let's just call it $100 a day, and you've got 30 days in a month. So every day that resident is at your facility, you are billing Medicaid for those days. And so if it's $100 a day, you multiply that by 30 days, that's $3,000 that's coming to you for the resident from Medicaid, which is great. $3,000 is pretty good for that facility. And if you want to learn the truth about kind of how you get paid, and the truth about, can you make $30,000, $40,000 in residential assisted living, I'm going to link up one of my best videos up there and kind of walks you through the process so you can kind of really get a feel for what that looks like. But quick answer, yes, you can. just let you know a little secret there. You can easily make 30 to 40 grand a month in residential assisted living. Now there's some caveats to that, so make sure you go watch that video to learn a little bit more about that. But you've got $3,000 there. The next part of it, on that par and petty, is actually going to tell you a little bit more. And they call this different things in different areas. It could be share of costs. It could be rough, which is rent, utilities, and food. But your resident is also going to have to pay you a portion out of their own Social Security money to stay at your house. There are standards that they have to be able to keep a certain amount of money, call it $150 a month, that they can use however they want. But the remaining amount of their Social Security income actually comes to you through that share of costs or that rough payment, and you collect that directly from your resident, and it's outlined for you in the par and petty that you receive from the case manager. So you're going to receive that information. It tells you can bill this resident $800 a month, and so that you bill that resident the $800 a month, and now you've got $3,800 a month for each Medicaid resident. Their rates and things are going to fluctuate, but that's a pretty I would say realistic number that you'd be looking at based off of the experience that I have in my facilities. $3,800 a month for a Medicaid resident. That seems pretty realistic. So that's kind of how Medicaid works and how you get funded, how you get paid for it. Getting paid by Medicaid, you have to be certified with Medicaid. So you want to go through the process, talk to the state, talk to those third-party administrators, figure out what their application process is like, and make sure that you follow it to a T. When they tell you to do something, make sure you give them exactly what they ask for. If not, I've got a horror story, I think I've told this before, where it took us forever to get things in line at our facility in Colorado, and it was pretty stressful for a little bit there, just because the application process with the Medicaid administrator was just a pain. Anyways, so you've got those things, you've got everything in line, and then once you have done that, now you can accept residents, Medicaid residents, and you can bring them into the facility. Medicaid residents are actually really easy to find. There's a ton of them. A ton of people are on Medicaid, especially in Colorado and Idaho, and I think this is pretty common throughout. A lot of facilities actually don't want to work with Medicaid. It can be a bit of a headache, and you could maybe make more at your facility if you went private pay, especially if you're a high-end facility. But something that you can do with Medicaid is you can have shared beds, and it doesn't affect their daily rate that you're paying. So you can have two people in a room. So if I'm getting paid $3,800 per resident, I've got two residents in a room, I'm making $7,600 out of that room. For me, especially in Idaho and Colorado, for me to get paid that much from a private pay resident, it's going to be pretty hard. It's also going to be really hard for me to find those residents that are willing to pay that much money, that need the level of care that I'm willing to offer. Whereas I can do Medicaid residents all day, and I can get them into the facility, and I'm making a pretty good amount of money from those types of residents. So this is why Medicaid is actually a pretty good thing. It might be the best kept secret in assisted living, and people don't want to deal with it, especially the big box ones, some of these larger types of facilities, because there's the headache of billing and trying to go through that, and it can be a pain. And sometimes if you forget to do the daily rate, or you don't get the updated par and petty, or you don't stay up to date with the different state updates and things like that, it can be a pain. But if you are up to date and you're staying up to date on those things, it's a super easy way to bring residents into the facility. Oftentimes what you're going to see, the best way for you to do this is to work with rehab facilities and hospitals, and working with them to help you find new admits for your facility. And when you go through that process, you're going to be able to find a lot of residents, and the other nice thing about this is you're going to kind of have the pick of your residents. They'll be able to, you'll have multiple residents that are on your waiting list because they want to get into the facility, and then you can do your interview and intake process. And if you find ones that need more cares than you can handle, or you're in the interview process and you're just like, I don't think this person is going to be a good fit for me in my facility based off of the type of culture we're trying to build here, they're going to disrupt things in the house, you don't have to accept them, because there's just another one that's down the line that you're going to be able to find and help bring into the facility. So it's a really good way, especially if you're just getting started in assisted living and you need to fill those beds and start getting income quickly. It's actually a really good way for you to do that. If you are a Medicaid provider, if you are an assisted living facility that accepts Medicaid, make sure you comment down below. I'd love to hear from you what your experience is like, what state are you operating in, and what's that reimbursement model look like in your state. If you have done Medicaid and you have horror stories of why you don't think Medicaid is the best way to go, comment those down below as well. I think people would really benefit from learning some of that information from you. I think that would be really insightful and helpful as people get started on their journey. And if you have just general questions about starting your own assisted living facility, make sure you comment those down below. It helps me build content that is specific to you. I'm really trying to make some changes here on the channel and give you content that you are actually looking for as you get started on your assisted living investing journey. Are you interested in getting started in residential assisted living, but you don't know where to get started? Here at assistedlivinginvesting.net, we're here to help you through that process, start to finish. Make sure you get over to the website, assistedlivinginvesting.net, for access to our free calculator. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.